Good afternoon, and it is a good afternoon to stay indoors if you can. Bone-chilling temperatures have descended on the GTA.
That's a live shot of young Dundas behind us. While it may be uncomfortable for people trying to get around, it can be downright dangerous for those trying to survive out in these elements. Our Rahim Ladhani is live this noon hour, out in the cold with more, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Rahim.
Yeah, hi, Michelle. Good afternoon. Yeah, I certainly can. You know, the conditions are uncomfortable at best, and as you mentioned, dangerous at worst. And it isn't just the cold that we're dealing with, it's also the wind. When there's a strong gust of wind that comes, it feels like you're getting punched in the face, especially on any areas of your skin that may be exposed. Now, there is a little bit of sunshine, if that's a silver lining, but that's doing very little to warm people up. The reality is, if you don't need to be outside today, stay indoors. However, that obviously isn't realistic for a lot of people. They have to get to work, school, they're out walking their dogs, and we've been out talking with people who are doing just that. Have a listen to what they have to say. What's your strategy today to stay warm?
You know what? I just adopted a multi-layer. I got like 3 layers under here, the gloves necessary, lip balm.
Trying to stay warm, but yeah, pretty much you can see the snow is pretty thick, and it's kind of hard to walk in the morning, so you know. Well, welcome to Toronto. Here's the weather here.
Maybe riding into work might be off the cards today. I think I'll take the TTC.
Brisk is a fun Tuesday.
Now, while some people find it brisk and a fun Tuesday, for others, it can be quite dangerous if you don't have a warm space to go. We're standing right now in front of the Cecil Community Centre, and this is one of 2 surge sites that the City of Toronto has opened. That's in addition to the 5 warming centres, which are already open. Between this one and the one in the East End, there is an additional 60 spaces for people to come in. They can come inside, warm up, have a warm meal. It's also pet friendly. And now what the city does is they open these surge sites when the temperatures dip below minus 15 degrees. That factors in the wind chill as well. We've been chatting with one individual who has experience with these surge sites as well as a outreach worker. Have a listen to what they say.
I think the city's doing a good job as far as the statistics are concerned, but they're overwhelming, and there's a lot of, I'm going to say, consternation that can't be substantiated around the Premier's office.
Even with these additional resources, you're still going to see people who have nowhere to go, which is to say that they may try to end up on the TTC system. They may try to end up in other private spaces, places like Union Station, for example.
The City of Toronto tells us that for those who are not comfortable coming inside warming centres or surge sites, that they actually have an additional set of outreach workers on the streets today, chatting with people, making sure they're okay, checking in on them, giving them blankets and sleeping bags. They also say that if you do come to one of these centres and they are at capacity, you will not be turned away. They may find you somewhere at a distance, but they will get you inside and a space to be warm. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladhani. I'll send it back to you both in studio.
Thank you, Rahim. Appreciate that. And no matter where we look across the city and the region today, yes, it just looks cold. Fortunately, we do have some sunshine, but it is not warming things up. The temperature well below 0, and then layer on the wind chill. Dangerously cold. Lindsay Morrison knows all about it. She joins us live now with all the numbers and the specifics. Lindsay.
Yeah, you know, Michelle, looking ahead to the end of this week, we could actually experience some of our coldest temperatures and wind chills that we've experienced in a couple of years. And today is our first taste of that. It is still minus 13 degrees at Pearson Airport, continuing to feel like minus 24 out there. And it was a frigid start to the day. Look at some of these numbers. Algonquin Park this morning, minus 27 degrees. Belleville, close to minus 23. We started off the day at Pearson Airport at minus 15 degrees. So we've only climbed 2 degrees from there. And we've got, once again, some very powerful winds out there. They're coming from a westerly direction yet again, gusting close to 50 kilometers per hour at this time. Yesterday, we had snow squalls. We had blowing snow. We had lake effect snow. That's still happening, but it's less of a concern for us today here in the GTA. So at least there's that. Lots of sunshine around the Golden Horseshoe. But look at these powerful squalls off Lake Ontario and Lake Erie impacting New York State today. And then communities to the east of Georgian Bay continuing to pick up snow. There's quite a bit of snow in the forecast for this part of the province in the coming days. Snow squall warnings and watches remain in effect. And as we look ahead to tomorrow, it's not so much snow squalls, it's system snow that we will be paying close attention to here in the GTA. There's today at a glance. Tomorrow, though, more in the way of measurable snow. We'll give you an idea of how much and when coming up in your weather forecast. But for now, Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Crews remain at the scene of an early morning fire in Oshawa.
The blaze sent 3 people to hospital and 1 person is still unaccounted for. CTV's Allison Hurst is live this noon hour at the scene. Allison, there must be a lot of concern there.
Absolutely, Nathan. Yes, there are still conflicting reports about that other person as to whether they were in the house at the time or whether they weren't. They're still trying to track them down and get a hold of them. So fire are saying they are hoping to have an update on that. Now, as for right now, they are waiting for city excavators to come and start digging through the house. There are still some hot spots that they can't get to, so the fire is currently still active, and they are still trying to get those spots. They still haven't been able to set anyone inside. Flames could be seen burning through the roof as crews tried to attack it from above early this morning. It started, as you mentioned, shortly before 4 this morning and is still active now as crews try to deal with those hot spots. It's in the area of Simcoe Street and Bloor Street East. 3 people got out of the house at the time and were out by the time firefighters arrived. They were taken to hospital. Officials say they believe they're in stable condition, but officials say this has been a challenging firefight and that this house is in a heavy hoarding condition.
Getting into the fire, the seat of the fire, when we knew it was in the basement, and with the length of time, the guys pulled out just for safety concerns. And then, you know, we had a hard time getting into the fire from the outside. We let it burn through the roof so we could set up the aerial. The aerial is still hitting it now, so and we're still having problems. But hopefully, when the excavator comes here, they can start picking it apart, and then we can get those hot spots knocked out.
Now, as we heard both Rahim and Lindsay talking about earlier in the show about these cold temperatures, that's something these fire crews also had to deal with early this morning. The fire chief tells us that there were about 4 trucks here at one point, and they were rotating and cycling through all of those crews to give them a break, give them a chance to warm up and get some water before they had to head back out, because this firefight lasted hours. And as I mentioned, it is still going on right now. They still don't have any cause or origin yet to give us. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Allison. The man who was shot during an interaction with Durham police officers in Oshawa has now been charged. Officers responded Sunday morning to a mental health call at a home on Cedar Street, just west of Simcoe Street. Ontario's Special Investigations Unit says police encountered a 27-year-old man who was armed with a knife. The man, identified as Tyler Villeneuve of Oshawa, was charged with assaulting a peace officer with a weapon. And during the interaction, one of the officers discharged their firearm multiple times. Villeneuve was struck, as was a police officer. The officer was rushed to hospital with critical injuries and remains in stable condition.
A firefighter was injured while responding to a call in Scarborough yesterday afternoon. Police say flames broke out at a home on Lawrence near Centennial Road just before 6 p.m. Toronto Fire says the blaze took some time to extinguish but was knocked down. The injuries to the firefighter were minor. A fire watch is now in place, and there was no one inside the home at the time.
We're learning more today about a Canadian woman found dead on a beach in Australia. CTV's Scott Hurst will join us with the latest on that investigation in moments.
The Ontario Liberal Caucus is recommending John Fraser for interim leader, a role he's poised to hold for a 3rd time. Riding Association presidents and executive council still have to vote on that choice, which will happen in the coming days. The party has also said full leadership race details will be released February 9th. It comes after Bonnie Crombie stepped down last week. Fraser has served as the MPP for Ottawa South since 2013.
Former federal Justice Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould has announced she will be starting treatment for breast cancer. In a post on social media, she says the treatment comes following recent surgery. Raybould calls the situation scary and unsettling, but says she takes strength from the many people who have shared stories of resilience and healing with her over the years. Wilson-Raybould spent 3 years in former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's Liberal cabinet before she resigned and was re-elected to her Vancouver riding as an independent in 2019. It's been nearly 1 year since 22-year-old Liam Toman went missing while on a ski trip in Mont-Tremblant.
The Whitby man's family has worked tirelessly with police to find him, but most leads have run dry. CTV's Denise Roberts has the story.
This surveillance video is the last known sighting of Liam Thoman. At 3 a.m. on February 2nd, he's seen leaving a bar and heading towards his hotel. His parents have scoured every frame, looking for clues.
We would have loved to have additional video surveillance to track Liam down within those last steps because he just disappears by the side of the hotel.
He says the lack of footage and clues over the last year has been frustrating. Tonight, the family is speaking to the town council to ask for increased video surveillance of the area.
We don't want this to happen to any other family again. So we're advocating for security upgrades within the ski village and the areas around the village.
In the last year, the Thomans have made a dozen trips from Ontario to the ski resort. Working with police and volunteers, they've searched the area, handed out wristbands, and talked to tourists. They're also working with the new mayor to ensure the search for Liam continues.
To have that time with him last night was an opportunity to discuss a lot of the issues, and he agrees. It's time to fix forward.
In March, Liam's wallet was found in one of the parking lots. The Thomans believe their son may have been kidnapped.
Our family believes Liam isn't here, but the answers are.
Police say the investigation is ongoing.
Right now, we don't have any credible information that saying something criminal has happened, but it's not excluded because everything's on the table.
The SQ will be setting up a command post on the anniversary of his disappearance in the village. And there's a $50,000 reward for information that breaks the case. In the meantime, the family is doing whatever it can to get Liam's name and face out there.
We are coming back and searching in the spring. We're not stopping.
They still believe someone knows something. Denise Roberts, CTV News.
To Davos, Switzerland next, where the World Economic Forum continues today.
Among those speaking, Prime Minister Mark Carney and former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. CTV's Rachel Aiello has been following the developments there. Rachel, we heard from the Prime Minister this morning. What stood out to you?
Yeah, so the Prime Minister's main message broadly was drawing contrast between the New World Order reality that is facing both hard power, so read into that countries like the United States, and middle powers like Canada. The Prime Minister making it clear that middle powers need to adapt to the new reality and work together towards finding solutions and not leaning so much on those big powers. But really what we were watching for most acutely from the Prime Minister was whether he was going to address the overarching concerns kind of looming over the World Economic Forum. And of course, that is U.S. President Donald Trump's threats to Greenland. And we heard the Prime Minister, without saying Trump's name specifically, express clear resistance to what the Americans are doing, saying that Canada stands firmly with Greenland. He is making it clear that Canada's commitment to NATO Article 5, that is the article that says an attack on one is essentially attack on all, remains unwavering, and that he strongly opposes any tariffs involving Greenland. Of course, Trump has threatened tariffs on European countries for their opposition to his plans to take it over. And lastly, he is now calling for talks to happen so they can work towards Arctic security together. So really some clear messages today from the Prime Minister on what's happening with Greenland. And now we're acutely watching to see if Trump and Carney will cross paths at all in Davos on Wednesday.
We've also heard from a former Prime Minister today.
Yeah, that's right. So former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is also at the World Economic Forum. He was speaking earlier today talking about soft power. So what really struck me was the contrast in the worldviews we got just today from our former and current Prime Minister in terms of how they see Canada's role. Former Prime Minister Trudeau was talking about Canada's strength always being as a soft power, convening other countries to come together and making it clear that in his view, and this was, I think, kind of a shot towards the Americans, that when Canada comes to help on the global stage, it's not to take their oil or impose Coca-Cola on another country. Of note, when the Prime Minister made that quip, his current girlfriend, pop star Katy Perry, was sitting front row and smiled.
Oh, yes, everybody watching them as well, but some other big matters at play there too. CTV's Rachel Aiello live for us in Ottawa. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Despite the growing opposition from Canada and other countries to Donald Trump's tariff threats over Greenland, the U.S. president is not backing down.
Well, I don't think they're going to push back too much. Look, we have to have it. They have to have this done. They can't protect it. Denmark, they're wonderful people. And I know the leaders, they're very good people, but they don't even go there. And, you know, because the boat went there 500 years ago and then left, that doesn't give you title to property.
Meanwhile, Trump has posted an AI-generated image online depicting him meeting in the Oval Office with European leaders. But take a look at the map. It shows the Western Hemisphere with American flags over Canada, Greenland, Cuba, and Venezuela. Another fake image shows the U.S. president with an American flag and a signing saying Greenland was established as a U.S. territory in 2026. Trump has threatened 8 European nations with tariffs for opposing an American takeover of the self-governing Danish territory.
At the World Economic Forum, Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister was asked today what her message is to Donald Trump.
Canada is an independent country, strong and sovereign, and we will continue to underline the importance of territorial integrity and sovereignty as key principles upon which we participate in NATO and other alliances every day. And that underlines the reason why we will continue to support the Kingdom of Denmark and Greenland. It's a broader question of what are the operating principles upon which we undertake our diplomatic relations. And the operating principles, while this world is so volatile, the operating principles themselves haven't changed. The operating principles are state sovereignty and territorial integrity.
Minister Anand also says NATO should focus on the North, so Canada and the Nordic countries are better protected. She believes it is time for that after Canadian troops have supported security in Western Europe for decades.
Meanwhile, European officials are suggesting there could be retaliatory action if the U.S. goes ahead with taking over Greenland.
I think it's sad and totally absurd that we have an American president who's blackmailing the rest of us, trying to get a piece of land or buy it through threats.
The next number of days are really crucial when it comes to the EU-US relationship, and there's not an hour to spare. It's absolutely important that intensive diplomatic efforts are put underway to try and de-escalate an extraordinarily dangerous economic situation.
We do not want to escalate this, but of course, if others keep on escalating, then there will need to be a European answer at some point, and I'm looking forward to discuss that with my colleagues today.
The European Union's top official says Donald Trump's planned tariffs over Greenland are a mistake, and the island's leaders insisting on respect for its territorial integrity, saying respect for international law is not a game.
We're learning more this noon hour about a Canadian woman whose body was discovered in Australia.
At this point, her cause of death remains under investigation. CTV's Scott Hurst has been following the story and joins us with more. Scott, what's the latest on this?
Nathan, good afternoon. Really some disturbing details coming out of Australia as we are learning more about the death of a Canadian traveler whose body was found on a beach surrounded by wild animals, surrounded by a pack of dingoes. Multiple media reports in Australia are identifying the Canadian woman as 19-year-old Piper James. The body of the young Canadian was apparently found early Monday morning, according to police in the state of Queensland. It was found, police say, by 2 men driving on the popular tourist island of Kagari, formerly Fraser Island, which is north of Brisbane in northeastern Australia. The 19-year-old had reportedly worked on the island for several weeks with a friend, and according to police, she told friends she was going for a swim early on that Monday morning, but her body was found later on the beach, surrounded by at least 10 dingoes. Here's more from police in Queensland, Australia.
A female person was located deceased. 2 male persons had been driving south from up near Orchard Beach and seen a large pack of dingoes, approximately 10 dingoes, near an object, and upon closer inspection saw that it was in fact a female person at the scene.
Police also say that the young Canadian's body had obvious signs of being interfered with by the wild animals, but at this time a cause of death has not yet been confirmed, pending a post-mortem examination which should be able to answer more of those questions. Did she die from drowning? Did she have some sort of other medical emergency, or was she attacked and killed by the animals? All of those should come to light with more in the investigation, more from that post-mortem examination. We can tell you also from the Canadian side of things, Global Affairs Canada is aware of the death in Australia and says it is working with the family at this difficult time. Nathan and Michelle?
All right, CTV Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks.
There was a dazzling display in the sky last night as the Northern Lights put on a show. The stunning scenes spotted in various parts of the world, including Germany, parts of the U.S., China, and Hungary. The lights were sparked by what experts say was a severe geomagnetic storm in the UK. Heightened solar wind activity pushed geomagnetic levels high enough for the aurora borealis to be seen across a wide area, including places well south of their typical range. Lindsay.
And some Canadians saw the Northern Lights last night as well. Of course, you needed to have clear skies for that to happen, and we had some snow squalls impacting parts of Ontario, much like again today. Here's our forecast highs for this afternoon, staying around -9 degrees in Toronto, continuing to feel into the -20s. It's a bitterly cold day. This is not record cold. The record to beat today is about -23 degrees, and that was set back in the year 1975. We could see our temperature fall to -20 this weekend for the first time in a couple of years. And not only that, but we're watching for this tomorrow. Widespread snow. It's a clipper system. Might bring us 5 to 10 fresh centimeters. We'll detail the timing after this break here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, let's talk about the forecast. Obviously, it's chilly out there. There's concern, and it just seems like there's no end in sight.
The weather, big story today. You can't deny it. You walk out there, and you are in a freezer, a deep freeze.
Oh, for sure. And if you don't happen to have any gloves on, even for a short period of time, the air stings. Like, it doesn't take long. And in the coming days, we're going to be talking a bit more about frostbite rates and risks, because the risk is certainly going to be there. Today is cold. We think it's cold. This weekend could bring us even cooler conditions, if you can believe it. Not just the daytime highs, but the overnight lows near -20 degrees for the first time in a couple of years. And between all this, we get a brief warm up tomorrow. But guess what? There's snow in the forecast. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm, the injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. Many parts of Ontario had snow yesterday. For some, it was fresh falling snow. For others, it was blowing snow. And that, of course, is this. It's where the winds pick up the snow that's already on the ground, blow it around, carry it across roadways. This was the scene out near Waterloo region yesterday, where blowing snow, a big concern in this part of Ontario, because there's a lot of farmers' fields. There's a lot of open areas. As we make our way through the next couple of days here, the winds are going to continue to be strong. Fortunately, the snow squall bands have become a little more localized, so fewer people are being impacted today compared to yesterday. But we're going to begin with today's top story, and that is the cold air. Look at northern Ontario. Right now in Moosonee, there's a wind chill of -41, and the temperature is -28 degrees, -29 in Peawanuck. Also a very cold start this morning in places like North Bay and Sudbury, with temperatures, core temperatures close to -30, feeling even colder than that. Tonight's low in Toronto is going to be around -14 degrees. That's comparable to overnight last night. But we do see a nice little rebound in temperature for tomorrow afternoon. Daytime high is going to be about 0. We just don't get to really enjoy it because, well, there's going to be snow falling out there, and a slightly milder temperature might end up upping our snowfall totals with this clipper system moving in. So this one is going to get going tomorrow morning and then taper off tomorrow afternoon. We'll show you that in just a moment here. But once again, bringing it back to today, snow squalls still a concern for parts of Bruce County as well as Grey County, and then communities around Midland, Penetanguishene, Barrie, and then in through Muskoka. 20 to 40 centimeters of additional snow is possible in many areas, thanks to, especially off Georgian Bay, some pretty potent squalls. They have also been quite intense, as mentioned, off Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, but it's less so impacting us. It's more so impacting our neighbors to the south today. As for what's to come, as we know, a clipper system is generally fast moving. It usually brings roughly 5 centimeters of snow, but with this one, we can expect maybe 5 to 10 centimeters of snow. I'm going to pause this just as it's moving in. It might move in on the back end of the morning commute, which would be good for travelers, but the snow falls all day. There's midday where we're going to be in the thick of it around the lunch hour. Again, tapering off into the late afternoon. 6 p.m. looks drier, generally speaking, and then into Thursday, we're going to see the winds continue to be powerful. Squall lines once again with those westerly winds, and then eventually we tap into a bit more of a northerly wind, which helps send our temperature plummeting over the weekend. Here's a look at the expected snow. Again, 5 to 10 centimeters, depending on where you're joining us from, but communities within those squalls are going to see more in the way of snowfall accumulation. Winds out of the west today, tapping into a bit more of a southerly wind tomorrow, still quite gusty, still strong, and then it's back to west winds for Thursday and more of a northerly and northwesterly wind for Friday and the weekend. Colder air, it returns in time for the weekend. Look at these daytime highs for Saturday, for Friday. There's the overnight low Friday into Saturday that could be around minus 20 degrees. The last time we had a temperature drop that low here in the city of Toronto was February of 2023. That's your look at the weather for now. Michelle, I'll send it over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Ugh. A new exhibit at a Toronto gallery celebrates the world of Sybil Goldstein.
Many of the pieces being shown at Counterfeit Arts are being displayed publicly for the very first time. CTV Jessica Smith is live this noon hour with more. Jess.
It is such a unique collection, Nathan and Michelle, because it's the work of a prolific Toronto artist that is finally being shared, and there are hundreds of pieces, and eventually you might be able to take some of them home for free, because you know my favorite price is free. I'm joined by David and Matthew, but David, I want to start with you. Talk to me about who Sybil was and why this exhibition is so unique, because people are getting to see her work, appreciate it, but also recognize maybe their neighborhood.
Well, Sybil Goldstein was a very prolific artist, especially in the during the 1980s into the 90s, and right up until her unfortunate passing in 2012. But what she drew a lot and painted a lot was Toronto. Her neighborhoods, the entire city, even some of the suburbs and rural areas around Toronto, her friends, the buildings, the architecture, the scenes. And so this exhibition comes from her storage. Since she died in 2012, her work has been held in storage, over 1,000 pieces, which have been shipped over here to Counterfeit 301, and over the last few weeks we've produced this exhibition representing some of the work and some of the various I guess themes that run through her work. Not only was she painting Toronto and the urban environment, but she also populated some of these scenes with mythological figures as well, which she became quite known for, especially during the 1980s.
It is so unique to be able to walk through a space that has art that is kind of maybe less hands-off. And I think the point of this exhibition is to be able to have the institutions that are featured, or be able to take it home, or for the people who come through who are fans of her work or just fans of art in the city. Why have a show like this? And has anything like this ever happened before with Counterfeit Arts, where people can come through and then eventually take it home?
I'm actually not aware of anywhere in the world that has taken on the entire body of an artist and said, we want to make it public, and that involves giving it away. Obviously, we've worked very closely with the family and with the legatees. They're the ones who accepted and agreed, and we're excited by this idea of bringing Sybil back to life. No artwork is meant to live in storage. No artwork actually lives in storage. Artwork sleeps and dies in storage, and this is the way that it lives. And so our way of vivifying or bringing life back to Sybil was to say, come and see her work, come and see it in a very intimate, familiar way. The drawings are pinned to the walls, the drawings are laid out on tables, the paintings are on the walls. Come and see it. Hopefully institutions will be interested in saying, yes, Sybil was a seminal artist in this country in that period. We need to have one or two of her works in our collection. And once the institutions have had their opportunity, then we're opening it up to the public.
So how does it work? Do I have to pay to come through? Do I have to pay for the work? How does that all happen?
Koffler Arts is free to the public. It's open Wednesdays through Sundays from 12:30 to 5 o'clock with evening hours on Thursdays. And it is always free. We have 2 exhibition spaces. We have a show of William Kentridge downstairs and Sybil upstairs, and it's all free.
You had me at free. Well, thank you guys both so much. It begins tomorrow to come through and check things out. We're going to have more news and weather coming up right after the break.
At City Hall today, Torontonians are getting their first chance to weigh in on the proposed 2026 budget.
Concerns about everything from shelter space to arts funding are among the issues being raised. CTV's Natalie Johnson is live this noon hour at City Hall with more. Natalie.
Hey, Michelle, this is part of the budget process where Torontonians get to provide their feedback and input to members of the Budget Committee on what they would like to see included in the budget. They are providing their insight on line-by-line items, but also the overall direction of spending in the city. This is, of course, an election year budget. A 2.2% property tax hike is what is being floated by the mayor. Other big-ticket items include a TTC fare freeze, expanded student nutrition programs, expanded library hours, boosted transit service, nearly 7% increase to the TTC budget, as well as the police budget. All of this does come at a cost. Some of that money made up through efficiencies like the restructuring of the Toronto Parking Authority, for example. Also a fairly significant withdrawal from the city reserves. Here's a few examples of what members of the public had to say about the budget here this morning.
We must protect Toronto's long-term care capacity for the benefit of Toronto seniors and their families, but also for the rest of the health and social services system in Toronto and across the province.
I am here today to speak in support of expanding peer employment programs within the Toronto shelter system, because I know how it is to be inside that system with no way clear forward.
If you want artists to continue to deliver world-class experiences and culture here in Toronto, then you need to ensure that we are able to afford to live and work here.
A lot of arts organizations connect to things that that are there to provide people with food and shelter and medical care.
So where does this all go from here? Well, the Budget Committee members take the feedback that they have heard here today at City Hall. These same kind of budget deputations are also happening at the other civic centers across the city. Then the mayor has an opportunity to make some changes to the budget. She presents her official version of the spending plan before February 1st, and then full council will vote on that document in February. Reporting live at City Hall, I'm Natalie Johnson. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. Police in York Region have issued a warning after several reports of counterfeit $100 bills being passed.
A 20-year-old man is now facing 9 charges in relation to using counterfeit money. CTV's Pat Forum reports on the growing trend of fake hundreds.
Trailers Ontario has 4 locations in the province selling cargo trailers for various applications. A customer recently bought one at their Mississauga site and paid for it in part with counterfeit money.
When did you find out that the cash was counterfeit?
First thing Monday morning.
Owner Nadir Virgie says the customer wanted to pay for the trailer in cash.
A customer came to us last week, purchased a trailer for $12,200, and he ended up slipping in $6,200 in counterfeit money.
Frustrated he'd been scammed out of $6,200, Virgie called Peel Police. They're continuing to investigate, but the man who handed over the cash was not arrested, as he said he got the fake $100 bills from someone else when he sold a trailer.
The police told me that it is a civil matter since he paid half in legitimate currency and half in fake currency.
To avoid counterfeit money scams, avoid large cash transactions if possible. If a cash payment is required, complete the transaction at a financial institution. Do not accept money you believe may be counterfeit, and do not attempt to use counterfeit currency as it's a criminal offense.
They seem to be a bit on the rise right now, especially with, as is always the case, the larger denominations, the $100 bills.
Toronto police say they've noticed a huge increase in fake bills since the beginning of the year.
We've already seen almost $50,000 in counterfeit money that's been turned in and that's been reported to us.
Feel, look, and flip.
For more information on spotting counterfeit notes, you can check the Bank of Canada's website.
Tilt the note to make sure the metallic portrait and building change colors.
As for Virgie, he's frustrated he may have to go to small claims court to get his money back. He says his company is now taking more steps to try and spot counterfeit currency.
We did purchase money counters right now for all our locations, and I've told my entire team to double check every bill.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The Leafs kicked off a 5-game homestand against the Minnesota Wild last night, but had an uphill battle after falling behind 5-1 after 2 periods.
Durham's pass deflects, Domi, a lead pass, Matthews, he's in, he scores!
Austin Matthews scored to pull the Leafs within 2 with 5 minutes left in the 3rd period, but they would get no closer. Minnesota won it 6-3. Matthews also had an assist, while Marcus Foligno had a hat trick for the Wild. The Leafs are back in action tomorrow night when they host the Red Wings.
The Toronto Scepters are in Seattle, where they will face off against the Torrent tonight. The Scepters are looking to keep the momentum going after breaking their 4-game losing streak with an overtime victory against the Vancouver Golden Knights Saturday. The Scepters last met the Torrent more than 2 weeks ago, where they suffered a 3-2 defeat. Puck drop is at 10 p.m.
The Raptors are on the West Coast tonight to take on the Golden State Warriors.
Ingram attacking Ingram, the two-handed slam.
The Raptors have been off since Sunday when they dropped their 2nd game in a row in a 110-93 loss to the Lakers. The Raptors and Warriors both have a record of 25-19, but Toronto is 4th in the East, while Golden State is 8th in the West. Meanwhile, the NBA's announced the starting players for next month's All-Star game. Luka Doncic received more votes than any other player in either conference. He'll be joined in the West by Hamilton's own Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, and Victor Wembanyama. For the East, it'll be Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, Cade Cunningham, and Jaylen Brown. For the first time in 21 years, LeBron James won't be starting. This year's format has changed. There'll be 3 teams, 2 comprised of American players and 1 of international stars, competing in a round-robin tournament of 4 12-minute games.
At the Australian Open today, Canada's Victoria Mboko is set to play her 2nd-round game against American Katie McNally.
Game's out of match.
Oh, well, what a great shake.
The 17th ranked Mboko is the only Canadian woman to get out of the 1st round of singles at the Australian Open after a win over Aussie Emerson Jones. Mboko is also advancing on the doubles side. She and her American partner, Eva Jovic, won their 1st round match in Melbourne yesterday.
To soccer, and Canada's men's national team is going to host 2 friendlies at BMO Field. The matches will happen during the March international window. The Canadian men will face Iceland on March 28th and Tunisia on the 31st. Both visiting sides will get a 2nd game during the window, playing Haiti in Toronto. Canada will take on a yet-to-be-revealed European team in Montreal June 5th or 6th in its final World Cup tune-up. Our men begin play in that tournament June 12th against a European qualifier at BMO.
Back here at home, a local lacrosse club is looking for a new home.
It comes after the longtime marina they've used has decided to keep the ice in year-round. CTV's Sean Leathong has more.
The ice at Ted Reeve Arena will be here indefinitely after the board voted to keep it year-round, but that means the end of this. as the decision will displace the Toronto Beaches Lacrosse Club from playing inside their home, a home they've had for the past 30 years.
And displaces almost 1,000 kids in our club.
Dave Lemke is the vice president of Toronto Beaches Lacrosse. He says they were blindsided when the Ted Reeve Arena board voted in December to move to year-round ice. The vote was done after the board had told stakeholders that year-round ice would not be discussed at the meeting.
The vote was not done with any community consultation. It wasn't done with any flags or a kind of awareness of our board, our group, as well as City Councillor Brad Bradford.
That to me doesn't seem like a consistent and transparent process. That's my observation.
Local councillor Brad Bradford is on the Ted Reeve board and was also surprised by the vote. Just this past week, Bradford tabled a motion to allow for a re-vote after consultation with the community. That motion was voted down.
I don't think that's the correct way to do it, and I tried to go back and fix that, but ultimately the arena board decided against that.
Ted Reeve Arena Board Chair Ian McLeod declined an interview but sent a statement that calls the new model a hybrid, keeping the ice year-round in the main rink and allowing for dry surface sports like lacrosse to be played inside the bubble located next door in the summer. The statement also says the hybrid model is a strategic investment in lacrosse growth. By designating the Ted Reeve bubble as a dedicated dry floor facility for the 12-week summer season, the Toronto Beaches Lacrosse Club gains stability and priority. It goes on to say that minor lacrosse games will move to Scarborough Gardens, but Lemke says Scarborough Gardens is outside their catchment and no floor time has been secured.
And as Toronto Beaches Lacrosse tries to find a new home for the 2026 season, there are questions as to the organization's stability, given that they're losing this one.
We're not able to schedule games, and it really kind of impacts us as a whole. It may have a detrimental effect on our registration numbers.
Lemke says that hockey schools have already begun advertising for summer programs, while Toronto Beaches Lacrosse is unsure where they will have a home. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
And just ahead, it's one of the most talked about shows on the planet right now. Find out how one NHL team is capitalizing on the success of heated rivalry while at the same time helping a local hockey league. Stay with us. It is a red-hot series for both television fans and hockey fans.
And one NHL team is capitalizing on the success of heated rivalry, while at the same time helping a local pride organization. CTV's Kimberly Johnson explains.
Jenny Asselin is an Ottawa Senators fan and a heated rivalry fan. She was caught off guard when the worlds collided at the Canadian Tire Centre.
Going to buy a commemorative puck, and sure enough, there's a Hollander and a Rosenhoff jersey right there waiting for me. It was just serendipity, really.
The Senators have released heated rivalry-inspired Sens jerseys. Fans of the series can now buy Senators jerseys with the names Hollander and Rosenhoff on the back. The popular Crave original series is a love story about pro hockey players Shane Hollander and Ilya Rosenhoff, who are on rival teams.
We had the idea on Friday morning, and we had a whole bunch of jerseys in the store by Saturday night at our game, and sold out within probably an hour before the first period was over.
Peter Shire with the Senators says the store was getting requests for the specialized jerseys from heated rivalry fans. So they had some made up ahead of Saturday's game against Montreal. He says online sales are also popular.
We woke up on Sunday morning. We had orders from, I think, Germany, Sweden, Indonesia, Kazakhstan, Sweden, from all over the world. So it really, it's great.
In all, he says about 50 jerseys have already been sold, and proceeds will be going towards Ottawa Pride hockey.
Heated rivalry has been a really fun topic of conversation lately. I feel it's been taking over conversations in the locker room, and it's a great, wholesome show.
Ottawa Pride hockey is an inclusive hockey recreation league for the queer community. And with about 200 regular players, the league's co-coordinator says the goal is to make sure everyone sees themselves on the ice and on a hockey jersey.
So important to be able to see yourself as a kid, even as an adult now, just like, okay, I am welcome here.
And with the city of Ottawa set to play a possible role in the upcoming season 2 of heated rivalry, now fans can have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, a fun little thing to see the Sens sort of embrace.
Kimberly Johnson, CTV News.
Love it. And from a heated rivalry to the need for some heat, it is absolutely freezing out there, dangerously so, and it's going to get worse.
If you can believe it. I mean, today's pretty cold, core temperature-wise, but also when it comes to the wind chills, it still feels like the minus 20s out there in parts of the GTA today. So this is the first true taste of this. We're just going to get another round as we make our way into the weekend. One more look at the satellite and radar. Snow is less of a concern today here in the GTA. It's snowing pretty hard in and around Perry Sound, Bracebridge. You might even be getting clipped a little bit by that squall over Lake Ontario if you're in the Thousand Islands area, for example. But otherwise, mix of sun and cloud today. Chance of flurries overnight tonight, dropping to about minus 14 degrees. That's not too much of a change from where we are right now. Once again, wind chill minus 23. It's snow for tomorrow and a daytime high of 0. So a little bit warmer. We just don't really get the opportunity to enjoy it because, well, we've got active weather in store. It looks like this is really going to get going through the early morning, hopefully after the majority of the morning rush, but then falling throughout the day. Again, afternoon high 0 degrees, but then look what follows us into the weekend. That overnight low of minus 20 degrees, Nathan and Michelle, could feel more like minus 30. Back to you.
Already feel it. All right, that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6.